Hey, what's going on, you guys? This is Madam, and I'm coming back to you once again. And this time we're going to go over to the New York Times. And this is about the Adnan Syed case. Baltimore prosecutors dropped charges against Adnan Syed. Syed, I apologize if I mispronounced his name. As they should. I don't, yeah. Mr. Syed, whose case was featured in the hit podcast Serial, has been convicted in the death of a high school classmate and spent 23 years in prison before being released last month. I did report on this when they initially let him out of jail. Uh, yeah, I will list the article writer and all of the details inside of the description, as I always do. And it says Baltimore prosecutors Tuesday dropped the charges against Adnan Syed, who was released last month after he spent 23 years in prison fighting for a murder conviction that was chronicled, in a hit podcast Serial, officials say. Marilyn J. Mosby, the state's attorney for Baltimore City, said that she had instructed her office to dismiss the charges against Mr. Syed on Tuesday morning after he was cleared by DNA testing. Mr. Syed, age 41, has been serving a life sentence for the strangling death of Hay Mealing, age 18, whose body was found buried in a park in Baltimore in 1999. Questions about the fairness of the trial received widespread attention in 2014 after the debut of the podcast Serial, which examined the case in detail. But it wasn't until last month that a judge vacated Mr. Syed's conviction. Prosecutors said in a hearing on September 19th that the investigation had revealed problems with key evidence that was used to convict Mr. Syed, as well as the possibility of alternative suspects. It is still an open and pending case, but with regard to Adnan Syed, the case is finished, Ms. Mosby said at a news conference on Tuesday, after Judge Melissa Finn, of Baltimore City Circuit Court vacated Mr. Syed's conviction on September the 19th. Prosecutors have 30 days to decide if they would proceed with a new trial or drop the charges. Mrs. Mosby said that her office received notice on Friday that the results of the DNA testing of items belonging to Miss Lee, including a skirt, pantyhose, shoes, and a jacket. Ms. Mosby said investigators were able to recover DNA only from the shoes. The items that were tested had never been tested, Ms. Mosby said, and we used advanced DNA to determine it was not Adnan Syed. She said that Mr. Syed had been wrongfully convicted, but that a petition for his innocence still had to be initiated and certified. Excuse me. Mr. Syed's lawyer, Erica J.S., said at the news conference on Tuesday that her office would file a motion to certify his innocence as soon as possible, as they should. She said that the results of the DNA testing confirmed what Annette and his supporters have always known. Adnan Syed was innocent, and he's always been innocent. She and Mr. Syed had dreams of going to law school, and now that he is free, he plans to focus on getting his bachelor's degree, a process he began while he was incarcerated. He is elated. He is joyful. He is still processing this. Miss Sutter, who is also the director of the Innocence Project Clinic at the University of Baltimore School of Law. Last month, prosecutors recommended that Mr. Syed's conviction be vacated because they said the state no longer had convinced convinced in the integrity of the conviction. Excuse me, confidence. Sorry, apologies. Confidence in the integrity of the conviction. Mr. Syed was ordered to serve home detention until prosecutors reached their decision. He has maintained his innocence. Mr. Syed and Miss Lee were in a on-again, off-again relationship when they were both students at Woodlawn High School in Baltimore County. In 2000, a jury convicted Mr. Syed, who was only 17 at the time of Miss Lee's death, of first-degree murder, robbery, kidnapping, and false imprisonment. The podcast serial chronicled the case in its first season and became a pop culture sensation that attracted renowned interest in the prosecution of Mr. Syed and raised questions about who was responsible for Mrs. Lee's murder. In 2020, the New York Times company bought Serial Productions, the company behind the podcast. In a motion filed in Baltimore City Circuit Court last month, prosecutors said that the nearly years-long investigation conducted with Mr. Syed's lawyer had found two possible alternate suspects who have not been publicly named or charged. The investigation also found reliability issues with evidence and revealed that prosecutors may have failed to disclose evidence to Mr. Syed's lawyers that could have helped him in the trial. Becky Feldman, a prosecutor with the state's attorney's office, said at the hearing last month that the investigation acknowledged justice has been denied to Mrs. Lee and her family by not assuring the correct assailant was brought to justice. Mrs. Lee's family said that they had not been given enough prior notice to attend the hearing and had not received information that showed why prosecutors were reversing the conviction. The family asked that the Maryland Court of Special Appeals last week to pause the proceedings in the trial. The appeal remains pending. A lawyer for Mrs. Lee's family, Steve Kelly, said in a statement that the family learned through media reports on Tuesday that the charges against Mr. Syed had been dismissed. By rushing to dismiss the criminal charges, the state's attorney's office sought to silence Hae Min Lee's family to prevent the family and the public from understanding why the state so abruptly changed its position of more than 20 years, Mr. Kelly said. All of this family ever wanted was answers and a voice. Today, actions robbed them of both. Mrs. Mosby said at the news conference that her office had notified the family's lawyer on Tuesday morning, but they did not hear back from him. She also apologized to the family of Mrs. Lee and to Adnan Syed. The fundamentals of the criminal justice system should be based on fair and just prosecution, she said. And to crux of matter is where we're standing here today, because that wasn't done 23 years ago. And basically, that is it for this article. I never felt that he was guilty. I didn't. They picked him as soon as the case started. For me, I can remember this from back years ago. They did not search for anybody else. They did not investigate. It took them a matter of hours, days, to just say, okay, he did it, and I always felt that it was so unjust that what they did to him. He was a student just like she was. He had a promising career just like she did. I can also understand how the family may feel robbed, because for 23 years they did believe that Mr. Syed was the assailant who took the life of their family member. But that's not the case. Given that they have tested the DNA evidence that was never tested, um, they did not do their due diligence as far as trying to find leads or what actually really happened. Apparently, also, it was reported allegedly that it was two other assailants, and that one of the other assailants, um, made a death threat towards her just days or hours before she was found murdered. So, um, it definitely wasn't Mr. Syed. I'm so glad that he has his freedom. I hope that he can go on and adapt himself back into society and be able to live a fruitful life. Like I said, I never thought that he did it. Like when I was looking at the news reports on it, when the case was fresh, I just got that feeling like, no, he did not do this. Yes, they were on and off again. There was no issues as far as to my knowledge that the relationship was like violent, or he was ever aggressive to her, or physical to her. So for them to just pick him out the hat, and then on top of that, allegedly, it was some talk a couple of years ago that the reason why they might have done that because he was Muslim. Um, I'm not going to go into that. That's purely speculation. Um, I can't say what was their reason for just picking him so quickly, other than the fact that they had a relationship and that the relationship was on and off. So please take that with a grain of salt. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this story. Um, Thank you so much for watching my video. I do apologize for mispronouncing some of the names and things in here. But this has been a long, winding journey for Mr. Syed, and he has finally received his freedom, as he should. And whatever happens after this I'm hopeful that it will be good for him. But with that being said, drop down in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about this story and any other story that I do on my channel. And with that, you guys, I am out of here. I will see you in the next one.